Hi guys, Tixatsi here, and I've been asked a few times today about a 1 through 50 skill point allotment, because in my build guides I already have the 50 maxed out, and I realize that some people might not already have 50 or want to know exactly how we progressed through the game, and so real quickly we're just going to go over each point and how that we leveled up. So the first two we're going to go into Bone Splinters, really basic, and we get to our BoneSpear. BoneSpear, of course, is going to be our primary attack and most damage output for the entire game. So we're going to grab BoneSpear and come up to Vulnerability. Now, early game, you're not going to have splintering, so you're taking Vulnerable off the bat. This will give us a 20% damage increase to bosses, elites, and most mobs when we need to hit something that's a little bit stronger than usual. Once you get that, you're going to put the rest of your points into BoneSpear. Again, we're trying to maximize this damage here. We're playing hardcore, so this is a first point that we take right off the bat. You can take other things in Blood Mist, especially if you're playing softcore, if you don't care about that survivability, want to break immune, that kind of thing. But this is kind of our, oh shit button. This is the, we need to get out of CC, we need to get away from something right away. They're going to come back up and get this critical strike chance, plus 8% when we hit enemies with bone splinters. Again, most of the time we try to stay above 50% essence, that way we get most of our damage boosts in the early game. You're going to be hitting BoneSpear and then a few Bone Splinters. You can hit Bone Splinters first. That way you can get that critical strike chance boost. And sometimes, it also throws out 5 shards, and it's a lot easier to get that crit chance off. So this opens up our last board here. Get a point in Decrepify, and we don't leave anything else here. Then we're going to put points into Distant damage. Again, we're trying to play a caster. We're trying to stay far back and get a little bit of distant damage going on here. What I did here, you can kind of change differently. I know a lot of people wanted to get into core skill damage as fast as possible, but again, we're playing hardcore. So what I did is I took this point here into Death's Embrace. We come and get Corpse Tendrils as fast as we want because it's a good stun, crowd control, and I also put 1 point into the Slowed and CC. And this is actually the point here when I got my first splintering aspect. You can get this in the campaign around Act 3. It's most of the way through Act 3. And what we did is we did Act 1, did a bunch of side stuff, got some levels, and then went straight over to Act 3. We skipped Act 2, and then we came back to that later. So we actually switched that there, and we do that by getting the next level we put into Unliving Energy. Take this point out and put it here. So this will give us permanent vulnerability on everything that we attack, so we don't need this, okay? And then at this point, we're going to put points in Duration. Actually, another thing that I did here, you can take that point back out. And I came down into getting critical strike chance and damage versus vulnerable. And I started to max this all the way to 3 points before we get to Bone Storm. We take Bone Storm, and here's another time where I considered going for Decrepify's reduced cooldown times, but Bone Storm again becomes more of an oh shit button when we use the barrier aspect. So we just left 1 point into it, damage reduction. So when there's an enemy that has the bubble, the barrier, the protection, we can pop that. That way we have a little bit more damage reduction because we need to be up close to those guys to be able to kill them. Then we start putting points again into damage reduction. Now if you're playing softcore, you can go ahead and start maxing out Memento Mori, which gives you more bonus to your sacrifice. Again, we sacrifice everything, our minions or skeletons, including our golem. But I actually maxed out Standalone first, and then went into Memento Mori and maxed that out. And around this time is also when I was using a two-handed weapon. So what I do is I try to stay healthy and take attack speed. Now we're going to get Ossified Essence next, and then max out Inspiring Leader. And then we come up and start taking our bone passives here. So we're going to take Critical Strike Chance. Again, we're trying to stay at maximum essence, and most of the time at this point we're doing that pretty well. We try to stay above like 70%. Then we get our Compound Fracture, and then we come up and get Unliving Energy and into Imperfectly Balanced. And then we come back and max Unliving Energy. And this is where we get a couple of points into Hewed Flesh. This is for getting Corpse Tendrils for bosses. Most of the time, here you actually don't need it anymore. I was playing in a party most of the time, so we could actually get Corpse Tendrils off and then kill the boss. But again, towards the late game, especially if you're playing by yourself, you're two-shotting bosses at this point very easily. Just 2 Bone Spears and it's done. We have some videos of that, video proof, some showcase videos. Then we come down and take more Death's Embrace. Again, this is more for the damage reduction rather than more damage. We finish our points off into Decrepify. We get our Rapid Ossification. Now this is another one where people asked, is this even good? Towards the late game, we are spamming BoneSpears. We're staying at maximum essence, and it gets our Bone Storm back just a little bit faster. And we mean like it shaves off 10 seconds. You can sometimes get more than that if you're really spamming them, but you could take these points out and put them into something like Blood Mist that'll reduce the cooldown. You could put it into Corpse Tendrils that'll reduce its cooldown. It's really up to you, these 3 points. Actually, the last 5 points, honestly. And you could even put, I put 2 points into amp damage. You could do 3 or 2 into ossification, and then 3 points into amplified damage. But honestly, we don't really need the more damage once it comes to the Paragon boards. Once you get past this point, everything's a breeze. We just did a T55 walkthrough, and it was, we were one-shotting everything. We tried a T95 earlier, and we can kill everything. The problem is surviving. So we're actually changing a lot of our gear today and trying to build a little more damage reduction. But we're going to try to do a couple of really high Nightmare Sigils and see what we can do, see if we can actually survive a few hits rather than getting hit once and having to get out. But the damage is there. The damage, we can kill everything, including elites, no problem. The problem is taking a hit. So I hope this helps you guys with a little bit of a skill breakdown, and thank you. Have a good one.